Coco Gauff sends 21-word message, a surprise gift to Ben Shelton before his wedding, leaves him in tears. The sun was setting over the beaches of Miami, painting the clouds in gold and rose. The air was soft with sea breeze, the sound of laughter floating from a white-decked venue by the ocean. It was the eve of Ben Shelton's wedding, the most anticipated day of his life. Friends, family, and a circle of fellow athletes had flown in from all over the world. Everything seemed perfect. The flowers, the music, the endless horizon. Yet amid the joy, Ben felt something stirring inside, a mix of gratitude and nostalgia. As he stood on the balcony, he scrolled through old messages on his phone, memories of matches, training session jokes, and quiet encouragement from people who had shaped his journey. Then his screen lit up, a new message from Coco Gauff. He froze. They hadn't spoken in a while, not since last season's U.S. Open, where both had stood on American soil as symbols of the new generation of tennis. And now, the message simply read, "Check your doorstep before the sun goes down. Don't open it until you're alone." Ben's heart skipped a beat. The package. Minutes later, there was a knock at his suite door. A hotel attendant stood there, holding a rectangular box wrapped in midnight blue paper. There was no note, just a small silver tag that read, "For Ben from CG." Ben carried it inside, curiosity glowing in his eyes. He sat on the couch, his fiancée, Amelia, busy arranging flowers across the room. "Who's it from?" she asked playfully. He smiled. "An old friend." She winked. "The tennis kind or the emotional kind?" He chuckled. "Both." When she left for the rehearsal dinner, Ben finally opened the box. Inside was a framed photo, slightly faded, captured during the 2022 U.S. Open mixed doubles practice. Coco and Ben stood shoulder to shoulder, both grinning wildly, sweat dripping down their faces. But what stunned him wasn't the photo. It was a small envelope taped to the back, handwritten in bold, familiar cursive. "Read when you're ready, not before." He turned it over, hesitated for a long moment, then unfolded the paper inside. It contained a 21-word message. "You taught me that laughter wins more hearts than trophies. Never stop being the joy in every room you enter. See." Ben stared at the words. His throat tightened. Memories flooded in. He remembered everything. It had been 3 years ago, during the U.S. Open, when Coco, then just 18, had burst into the semifinals. Ben, in his own rising wave of fame, had been called the next big American hope. They were both young, full of energy, often teased for their friendship. During press conferences, they'd exchange jokes. On practice courts, they'd challenge each other to serve aces blindfolded. And when either lost a match, the other was there, offering not pity but perspective. He remembered one night in New York, after both had been knocked out early. They sat on the rooftop of their hotel, legs dangling over the edge, watching city lights blur below. Coco had said, half joking, "You know, someday when you get married, I'm going to send the weirdest gift ever." Ben laughed. "What? A tennis ball bouquet?" She smirked. "No, something that'll make you cry in front of everyone." They laughed then. Neither of them realized how true those words would become. The second layer. Still holding the frame, Ben noticed something else inside the box, a small velvet pouch. He untied it and found a handcrafted silver keychain shaped like a tennis racket. Etched on the handle were 2 dates, September 5th, 2022 and June 10th, 2023. He recognized them instantly. The first was the day he met Coco at the mixed doubles warm-up. The second was the day she won her first Grand Slam. On the back, engraved in fine cursive, was a simple line, "For the teammate who never stopped believing." Ben pressed the keychain against his palm, his vision blurring slightly. He hadn't realized until now how much a friendship had meant. Not romantically, but in the kind of deep, soul-level connection that only athletes understood. The unspoken bond. Later that evening, he found himself walking barefoot along the shore. The sky was deep purple, the ocean whispering at his feet. He played the message again in his mind. "Never stop being the joy in every room you enter." He smiled. That was Coco, always reminding others of who they were, not what they'd achieved. They'd been through storms together, Losses, criticism, media frenzy, burnout. Through it all, she had a way of grounding everyone around her. She could win a major title and still cheer louder for someone else's small victory. He pulled out his phone and typed a message. Coco, I don't even know what to say. You made me cry like you promised. A few seconds later, 3 dots appeared on the screen. Then her reply came. Good. You always look too composed anyway. Ben laughed out loud, shaking his head. Still the same Coco. The wedding morning. The next day dawned warm and bright. The waves glimmered in gold, and the air was thick with excitement. Ben's friends knocked on his door early, ready to help him get dressed. The morning passed in a blur of ties, laughter, and champagne toasts. But as the ceremony drew closer, a wave of emotion hit him. Amid the music, the crowd, the perfection, he felt the weight of every step that had led him here. Just before walking out to the altar, one of the wedding coordinators handed him a sealed note, a promise rekindled. A year later, at a charity exhibition in Atlanta, Coco and Ben finally met again in person. The crowd roared as they walked onto court together, reunited for a mixed doubles match to raise money for youth tennis programs. Before the first serve, Ben leaned toward her and said with a grin, "Still trying to make me cry in public?" Coco laughed. "Nah, this time I'll just beat you fair and square." The game was pure joy, filled with laughter, teasing, and moments that reminded everyone why tennis was beautiful. When the match ended, Coco surprised Ben again, this time with a custom racket engraved with the words "Joy Wins." Ben looked at her and said quietly, "You never miss, do you?" She smiled. "Not when it matters." The legacy of friendship. As years passed, both Coco and Ben carved their paths, titles, trophies, and global recognition. But they often spoke about that one wedding, that one gift, that one message. Whenever young athletes asked about mental toughness, Ben would say, "Find people who remind you of joy. That's your anchor." And Coco, when asked about legacy, would answer, "Legacy isn't just winning. It's leaving someone better than you found them." The 21 words that echoed forever. On the 10th anniversary of Ben's wedding, sports networks revisited the now famous Coco Gauff letter, the 21-word message that inspired countless athletes around the world. Ben and Amelia appeared in the documentary, reflecting on that day. "People still ask if it made me cry." Ben said with a chuckle, "The truth? It still does. Every time I read it." And Coco, watching from her home, smiled as she read a fan post quoting her words. "You taught me that laughter wins more hearts than trophies. Never stop being the joy in every room you enter." Those words had traveled the world, crossing stadiums, hearts, and generations, reminding everyone that kindness, even in its simplest form, can outshine victory. Because sometimes the greatest serve of all is friendship. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.